Hello, good afternoon. Hope you're all doing good. Let me just push out our thing. Yeah. So we're back at it again with another stream. We are at part 2 of deleting things. Part 2, season 2, more like. And yeah, I've made a little bit of progress off stream. Which I'll talk about once I've got the chat open. Let me just pause my timer because I've been waiting for my laptop to do things. So, all right. Let's pull this up one moment. Hopefully the music is good. Yeah, everything's a bit laggy. Yeah, but the first time in a while, I'm actually on time on a normal day of the week, which is a poggers, as the Twitch streamers like to say. I think. Not as big a fan as YouTube when it comes to streaming. It's such a pain in the neck to log into that website. Anyways, rambles over. The chat should be available. I'm just going to say hello just to check. Everything's fine. Right, okay, so... Cool. Right, so what are we doing today? Right, so I'll fill you in. I have made some... I finished off what we were doing yesterday. I need to comment this out because this is what we're going to be doing. Editing. Oops, a daisy. This is what we're going to be editing today. I pressed the Windows key there. So, things that we were doing yesterday. Ah, right. And also, give me a moment. So, what we were doing yesterday is we were setting up... entities into categories. So we had categories of entities, which has reduced the amount of overhead. Sorry, it's increased the flexibility while it's increased the flexibility and readability of things while making the interactions between the systems a little bit more complicated, which is kind of the trade-off you have to take. So I've also added way more things in a row with the same old pattern of thing that gets bigger and it changes color with time. So I could see if some, collision mesh is overlapping because it won't ever be perfectly overlapping. And I have written a thing that deletes an entity, and if I keep pressing 0, we are deleting the docs, which is what I wanted, right? I wanted to be able to delete not just any arbitrary entity in the scene, but a specific entity, which was the whole point of this. And yeah, so we can delete all the docs. We don't yet delete anything like textures once all the entities have been removed, which is something I'm going to have to work on. But as far as I can tell, the physics engine and everything like that actually does understand that things have been removed. If we're going to do it in mass, we've got to do it in a different way, but individual entities being removed is completely normal. To do it like this, because there's not that many. So yes, that's what I've been working on off stream for about 3 hours. We have a problem though that these entities are all static. As soon as I start bringing in dynamic things that can be updated on the fly, which you've seen before, the buffers get all weird, right? The positional buffers and stuff don't get all they don't match up or anything. So, yeah, we've already got some, weirdness. These rocks are actually completely in the wrong place. You can see that this collision mesh here has another collision mesh, which is from here, which is, why this is missing. But this rock should be in this sphere, and this sphere, and this sphere. The ducts are actually inside the rocks, and I can't exactly figure out immediately why things have moved the way they have. Especially because a lot of the collision geometry, most of it is fine. But it gets worse when I start deleting stuff. So we can see that. Oh, yes. So there are still things I need to fix. Not entirely sure why that's happening. Ah, okay. So. Is this still needed? Okay, so there's stuff like that. That's like an issue right now. Things are a bit kind of crazy. So we should try and continue on fixing this. So the first thing I need to the first thing I've also added a debug string to all the entities so I can figure out what it is. So the first thing I need to figure out is if I run this code again, I believe the first rock doesn't have anything in there. I know it does. So when I looked at this in RenderDoc, you can see that the rocks and the ducks are in the wrong place. So I'm going to open up RenderDoc and we're going to start kind of figuring out, based on that, what the push constant is, what everything is effectively. So yeah, we have 0, 60, 120, which is the one we want for the ducks. That is correct, but also for some reason it's copied over the ducks. The ducks one is now where the rocks one should be. So this is correct. This is incorrect. This should be 30, 90, 115. Sorry, 150. So for some reason at this point here we're getting the wrong instance and we're copying the data over incorrectly, when it really should just update the actual rock instance, not the so for some, I feel like we're getting the when we do this, actually let's get entity index, right? So the entity index here should be something different than a debug index. Hello, Ratchet. How you doing, dude? Moving swiftly on from where we were last time. So, yeah, I've made some progress on the deleting, but we're still in an issue when things start to become dynamic again. Things break. Oh, hang on. Let's restart that. So I've been working on this off stream, but the rocks are in the wrong place because they're being updated to the same position as the ducks for some reason. And oh, hang on. Yeah, the collision meshes are correct. Yeah, okay, that's good. So originally, Ratchet, the collision mesh was on here, where it shouldn't be. Only this one in particular. But now, at least, all the collision meshes are in the right place. As far as I can tell, at least. I don't think there's any missing ones. Whoops. Yeah. I think we're all good. Alright, okay. Close that. Yeah, so we're going to be doing a lot of deleting today. Again, this is kind of a tricky subject. And now we need to figure out why the model geometry is getting mixed up. Okay. So we have a category that loops through either rock or sphere. So this should be either 0 or 1. When we get this guy out, it should be 0 to 20. And as far as I can tell, this should be... I feel like the music's too loud. I'm going to turn it down. It's hard to hear myself. I don't know if that's just me, though, so hopefully that's chill. Hello, Kalia. How you doing, dude? Hopefully your studying's going good. Yeah, it's good. We're just doing a bit of extra deleting today. You can hear well. Fantastic. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, because I can't hear what you guys hear. It's kind of if I was a more professional streamer type, I would probably be able to work that out. But so we just got to figure out why this new position that comes through is incorrect, because it comes from this entity thing. Like each rock and duck entity for some reason seem to have the same data. which doesn't make sense. Right. So if I have, right, if I remove this, so the rocks shouldn't have any. I don't know why the rocks are being moved, because they shouldn't even be in here. So it can't have an invalid ID. Is invalid is false, and dynamic has to be true. I wonder if I'm setting this up properly. Is dynamic if motion type is equal to dynamic, and that is for the. That should be correct. Let me just check how that's assigned. Okay, there it is. Motion type. If the category is duck. Excellent. Reading the Gregory book, Game Engine Architecture, I have learned a lot of stuff in the first chapter. Introduction, such a great book. Enjoying reading. Fantastic, dude. Honestly, it's a fantastic book. I haven't read all of it. I've read different chapters here and there. And yeah, you'll learn a ton. I always wondered if I was to read the book cover to cover. This is what I thought back in the day. Could I be? Would Jason Gregory personally hire me for Naughty Dog? Because I was thinking, you know, if the answer is no, then do you have the confidence in your own book to teach me? But I don't think that would go down very well. Yeah. But anyway, so motion type is equal to either dynamic or static if it's duck. If true, this. If false, that. So it should be static at some point. Yeah, you gotta read it cover to cover. That's the thing. That's the thing. I've never read it cover to cover, so I can't say anything, can I? So if these are equal, then this should return true, as far as I can tell, because these are just enums. All right, so I'm gonna put a breakpoint here just to make sure that we might end up moving the wrong things. That's all. Or this may always be true, or something stupid. So the category coming in is. So what's the actual category? So it is duck, okay. So this should be dynamic, true, okay. F5. False, okay. And that's because we are on rock. I want to get a general understanding. No, it's a fantastic book for that. You'll be able to. You honestly might even end up with a better understanding, in general, of all systems that come with game development than I have currently. If you read that book cover to cover. So yeah, keep at it. Honestly, it's going to be worth the time. It's going to take a long time to get through, but it's going to be worth it. Well, I don't know how fast you are at reading and how much your notes taking. So when I say it's going to take a long time, maybe not. I don't know. It depends on you. Yeah, 1,300 pages. I think my second edition has slightly less, but it's still it's a big meaty topic. Yeah, keep at it, dude. It's gonna be worth it. Yeah. Right, so what have we got? Yeah, I think I'm going to have to pass this through eventually. Yeah, I would recommend taking notes for something like that. You don't want to study it twice or 3 or 4 times. You already know this. You're pretty mature when it comes to studying. You're actually quite switched on. But yeah, for anyone else who is watching, I recommend taking notes in general. Not always. You don't have to do it every single time, no matter what. But even if it takes longer to read something, you don't want to read it 3 or 4 times over because you've forgotten half of it. So Read it once, remember it well, and then you're pretty set to study something else then. But that's just advice. I don't always follow that advice. Like, sometimes I just feel like reading a book on programming. Anyway, so we've got entities. I think, okay, so we do have some dynamic. Why on earth are the rocks getting updated? Let me move this a bit. Right. Yeah, make an abstraction. Yeah, make an abstract on what you've read. Summarize it. Yeah. Learning how to learn is a tough skill. Looks like you've got it down though. So that's well, it's an overlooked skill. I wouldn't say it's necessarily tough. It's kind of not rushing is generally the general good idea. But anyway, so we have debug name. We have a get world transform entity new position. We have this, and then we have the amount of entities in that category itself, and we get the index based on that. I think I have a feeling I'm going to try this, right? Entity category duck, right? Now this is going to absolutely lock in that we're on ducks, and this might tell me some information that we're updating the wrong part of the buffer. Interesting. Right. I did the same thing while reading the Straw Strut book. All information is glued in my brain. Fantastic, dude. And you'll thank yourself in the future when you do that. So I think I'm missing something here. This might actually be something else. Oh yeah, this is different now. Yeah, this has to be moved because we have a whole different system. Hang on. Okay, so when we're yanking out the positional buffer, we have to. I think we have to do this here now because we're using this. That's not gonna work. But yeah, this entity data is kind of hard to mess with. Because I think what's happening here is we've got like a inconsistency with the actual data that we upload. Okay, so we have an array of arrays, right? Model type. So although this is an array for this particular thing, when we touch this array here, it's almost like a category rather than a. So we have a model category here, and which I think is fine. Give me a minute. So what I mean by model categories, by the way, is instead of I have an array of arrays when it comes to my entities, and the outer array is the category, and the inner array is the number of things in those categories. Then I use those indices to go into other arrays things. Same deal here. we needed like again categories and but the problem is like what is this? What is the index in here referring to when I do this? So it's almost like we have categories of models now for each entity type, which is fine. I just need to make sure that the relationship between the two is actually legit, because we might end up having this backwards, where, for example, I have what, rock first, then duck second. Yeah, okay, so that's what the problem is. It's this. I've got to be careful here that I get these the right way around, because the numbers are supposed to be the same. I think that's going to fix something. If not, that's a bug. I'm not sure if it'll fix everything that we've seen. Okay, so that was the bug, right? We were putting the duck positions where the rocks were, so everything was getting a bit mixed up. And as far as I can tell, let's start deleting and see how this goes. Okay. Now if I keep deleting, are we doing a delete swap? I figured out we couldn't do a delete swap, by the way. That was the other thing. Interesting. This is why I made it longer, by the way, because there's errors that happen only when there's more things to delete. So let's see that pattern again. Okay, so when I delete, nothing changes. When I delete the next thing, I end up with. Okay, so I think we're ending up out of sequence here. So let's just check there's no duck inside here. No, okay. So what's ended up happening here, I believe, is we're starting to desync. So the first one's fine. And I think what's going to happen if I delete again, we're going to be more out of sync. So then we delete that duck, and I think. Yeah, it's desyncing. I think it gets worse and worse. Does the size of the gap improve? Yeah. So the size of the gap gets worse as the desyncing continues. I think we would get a buffer overflow. And yeah, some weird stuff happens down here. Oh, it's probably these things. I don't know exactly what's happening, but yeah. Okay, so before we do that, though, I do want to check if, based on that bug fix we just did, if I start moving things around the scene, this is just for testing, really. Do the right things move? So we have a category of duck, right? And I want to move 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's like their ID. At different speeds. Okay, that looks good. And okay, so we have not quite right. Why did you only move a little bit? That's kind of confusing. Right, okay, so let's just see. Let's do this again. I'm kind of a bit confused. This is all a bit okay, so that one moves that way. That goes down, which is correct. Now this should move in the X direction. Okay, so that's going to be a little confusing to track. I think. So what I'm going to do is, instead of the X direction, The X direction, because everything's in the X direction. I want to make. I don't exactly know which one's which. You know, we've got Z here and Y, so. So one should go up, one should go down. Okay, so that makes more sense. So this has gone here. And the next one went out. So that's correct for the docks, but not for the collision spheres. Obviously, they should be following. I wonder why that's happened. Let me check the... Okay, so I think this is wrong, my logic here. If dock, then it's dynamic. If we go into here... So it's model... Hang on, let me think. So I think we're not... If I set them all dynamic, let's just... Obviously this is slow as hell, but... I would like to see if it's just... Oops. Let's close that. That's not how it works. Let's delete that. True. Yeah, so this is just me making sure that I haven't broken anything based on this deletion code. What have we got then? So everything's dynamic now. Okay, so it's nothing to do with that, which is nice. So the setup code is still fine. It's just the way I'm handling the code. Yeah, so I'm a bit concerned about how we're uploading the data. Because now is an array of arrays when it comes to the data. And is that correct? I think it is. Yeah, I think the buffers at least we create are correct. Let's see what maybe RenderDoc says. No, I'm gonna leave that actually. Let's just so I make sure that my stream doesn't go down by crashing the GPU again. I've got to open up my Discord server. Ah, because I've done that before. Also, Ratchet, you're I don't know if you're still here, but yes, your game engine pictures that you've posted in chat are fantastic as usual. I'm not exactly sure what's new, but yeah, the emission plus the ray tracing shadows with Bisto, the model's very nice. Anyway, so what have we got? Oh no, you've added bloom as well. Sorry, no, wrong format. I meant bloom instead of emission. Just realised that's not what emission it looks like. Anyway, what have we got here? We have to let's see, set things up in a way. How do I want to do this? Something is definitely wrong, but I can't exactly tell what it is. The categories of entity data are updated based on what? It's possible we've just got a race condition here, but I'm trying to figure out how we select the buffer allocation thing. Oh no, we do have a frames in flight. Okay. So let's just think. If this is correct, we have a category model cat, and we are looping through each Positional buffer. Okay, so let's just make sure I'm doing the right thing then. So debug model, rigid body. What I'm looking for here is making sure that I'm actually updating the right, using the right array, because I haven't done this in a while. Sorry, I haven't looked at this in a while. So that should be correct. I don't think we're going to get a race condition based on what I've done, because we have 2 arrays of 2 different buffers. Updated my Vulkan SDK, fixed yet another swap chain bug. Yeah, swap chain bugs. Oh my goodness, it's like I wonder what age we'll be when we stop coming across Vulkan swap chain bugs. They are so awkward to fix. But congratulations on fixing that bug, and yeah, it never ends. We'll be a skeleton before the end. Right, so we have a position, access. Yeah, I'm just checking my buffers are correct so I don't get a race condition. I think I'm not getting a race condition based on this allocation thing. This is the destination. So yeah, I guess that would make sense. This is a tricky one. Well, it's all tricky, right? This is the whole... I think this is going to be a multi-part series where I just work on the deletion code, but like I said, it's a tricky one. So, what am I trying to do here? Admittedly, I don't exactly know where the error would be happening for this movement bug, just so everyone can see it again. So that actually, I shouldn't be looking at. I should be looking at It's possible that that when I move these things, these are static, but the others aren't. I feel like the array of these corresponding to these collision meshes. I'm going to try a bit more. Try moving some more ducks. Because I really don't want to have to move the collision meshes separately. So let's move some more. I need to verify something. Oops, what am I doing? Duplicates. So 5, 4, 5, 6, 7. Also, it turns out my test module has a non-invertible local matrix, so I can't build a bottom level acceleration structure with it. Thank you for the acronym explanation. Right, a non-invertible local matrix, local transform. Your test modules. Do you have like testing built into your engine? Or do you mean like ray tracing testing? Okay. Nope. Okay, so a bit more. Let's do a few more. Just want to absolutely make sure this is... That's not what I expected to see, so I need to do it. I need to do more. 8, 9, 10. I just can't go to 20. Or 19. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry. Got you. Well, I hope you find a way to make that matrix. Okay, so that pretty much tells me that the collision meshes are just not moving after a particular point, when they should be. So these should all have spheres around them. Did you implement HDRI? Oh, you're talking to Ratchet? Yeah, I'll leave you to discuss that. No, I personally haven't, as you can probably tell. I haven't done any ray tracing. I've turned off all my lighting at the moment. Okay, so we can at least go back to 4. Not that it matters, but it doesn't really matter. Actually, I'm going to leave it in just so I can absolutely verify it's happening. So, and if I make everything dynamic, this still doesn't change. So, I have a bad feeling that there is something here that we're just not getting right. I'm just going to check. No, okay. No, I mean the background image, the 365 image that we normally use in the game. HDRIs. I can see you have one, but I don't know if it's... No, it's not. It's not a high dynamic range image. That's what you're saying. Right, so we haven't implemented... sorry, I didn't quite understand what you meant. Sorry about that, W3D877. We haven't implemented a lighting to do image-based lighting based on our HDR image. This is still a standard depth range image. But I'm working... someone has some people that want to work with me just like as casual, so we'll see if we can get kind of like it's not always it's I don't know where I would find high dynamic range images for even to test this stuff yet. The first thing for me that I need to deal with is make sure I can load those images into the game. But right now I'm working on things that I think are a little bit more fundamental than our high dynamic range when it comes to lighting. Just like I'm trying to work on deleting code, which at the moment kind of does all weird stuff. So yeah, I'm trying to fix stuff like that so we can actually interact with the world. But we will get there. We will get back to graphics and stuff. Interesting that this has gone even weirder now. I've never seen this before. And this has only started to break because things are... Oh, that's why. So let's do that again. Hang on. Ugh. So, sphere debug. Okay, yeah, I was just making sure this is correct. I use some websites, yeah. Yeah, feel free to post them in the resources if you find them. But yeah, I'll try and work on this so it's oh cool, I use Polyheaven. Interesting. Let's see how this breaks. Okay, so this breaks slightly more normally. Interestingly, the only collision geometries that move, are the ones that don't get deleted. What? I'm working on the lighting right now, and I was wondering how you set yourself up. I've been running into a few issues with it, lol. Well, cool, man. Thank you. Oh, yeah. I wish you the best on it. You'll have to fill us in if you get anywhere. Post it, and if you want, anyway. You don't have to do anything. Your job is to chill when you come into here. There's no reason to have to help anyone. But if you want to post about your work, if you're interested, there is a Discord if you want to join us. I always appreciate seeing other people's stuff. And yeah, I'm trying to figure out why this would be the case. Why don't these get deleted? Huh. We're definitely out of sequence with something. Let me, and it's to do with both. You might already be in the Discord with a different username. I actually don't know. That's the other thing. I should have prefaced things. Anyway, so, so this is 3. We index into here. Ooh, this is not right. Okay. Well, I found a mistake, which is nice. That should be it. Yeah, okay, so that's a mistake that I've just fixed. Oh, great, fantastic. I'm glad you find your way in. Okay, there we go. Look at that. That's more like it. Look at that. There we go. Okay, so next test is, can we delete the right things? Okay, so deletion doesn't work, but at least we're moving the right objects, which is good. It's a good step in the right direction. So that's 2 bugs pretty quickly that we've solved. Mostly just trying to refactor this into a way that makes sense for me. Right, so now transformation works again with the right collision meshes. Now we need to figure out why things go weird when they get deleted. I have a sneaking suspicion that it might be something to do with removing the geometry, but this should be... We actually don't need to do this. Not that it's an operation I care about, but let's just work things around. Yeah, it's like we're going too far, if that makes sense. It's like we're deleting it's like we're moving it. It's like when you delete something out of an array, and the array shrinks and you increment the counter by 1 at the same time. It feels like we've just done that. We're moving 2 things at a time rather than 1. So I'm just going to try and mess around with some values that we shouldn't be. That maybe it'll help with. Yeah. Okay. So now we're getting some even stranger values. So I'm just going to remove all these for now. Hopefully C++ ignores them. I still can't load certain really bright HDRs without artifacts. Interesting. I will definitely post something. I've been pretty busy with exams lately, and it's been almost a month since I last worked on my engine. So yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, it's just the reason I love seeing other people's work. It's like it's super motivating to see what you've been up to and what other people have been up to. For me personally, I think it helps other people. I can't say for other people. Okay, yeah, so 19. Yeah, we definitely need to subtract like we were. Which was... which one was it? It was entity index, which is this. Okay. At the very least, we need to... go back. Where were we? Consequence of working with halves, mostly. Interesting. Well, that's good to know, actually. Fortunately, I plan on making everything dark. It's just a dark-ish, you know, not too dark. But yeah, I really do want to get back into graphics, but I've got to work on stuff that's like the most fundamental. Ooh. Okay. Weird. What on earth? Yeah, I had a feeling we were gonna error out on that one. And that was on index 38. What? How big is this? Oh, I wish Telesense could work out what I'm trying to do here. Is there a way to see the size? Okay, so it's size 3. No, that's the category. I need to go in another layer. Oh well. I don't think it's too important. Maybe I can do it. I've seen entities. I haven't done this in a minute. Data. Okay, so it's 20. I'm running. Okay. Oh, you both have the same issue. Right, interesting. So you're both having artifacting. Let me just start the music. Whoops. Minimize, please. Thank you. Okay, so we do need this. It's so I'm just going to slowly be adding things back in so it doesn't crash or assert. Okay, so that's not... I'm still doing the same thing. Okay, so final test. Wow, I didn't realize it was that sensitive, honestly. It's good to know. Okay, yeah, so that's just still bugging out, but slightly worse. So this is deleting one, but it's deleting the wrong one as far as I can tell. Okay, let's just make sure that's true. Alright, I'm going to stop the movement actually, because that's... yeah, okay, so let's be careful here. Now what I'm looking for is the collision geometry being deleted. And to see if... So I'm just going to comment this out for a minute. And just see if there's more than one being deleted, so... Okay, so when I delete this... Yeah, so the first one always is successful, as far as I can tell. And this happens... So it's deleted the wrong one. Oh, interesting. Hang on. Ah. Right, okay, so this is again why I made things a different size, so we can see this happening. So we have two collision meshes on the same position. And it's deleting one. Okay, so... Oh, okay. Doubled up here. You have two doubled up. Interesting. So let's go into my main function again. If I go down to here, we have... Okay, just to verify, so I'm just going to make sure that the ducts are being deleted correctly. Let's just make sure that's correct first. So we're not interested in the collision geometry, we're interested in the ducts. So as far as I can tell, this is fine for the ducts. I'll go through the rocks in a minute. Right, let's just make sure that they just haven't been in a different position. They just... There we go. Does it go the wrong direction? Nope. No, I think we're pretty safe to say that none of the... Okay, let's just go to the last rock. Just make sure they're not all going to 0, 0. Okay, so it's only the collision mesh is themselves that are incorrect. Okay, that's good to know. So let's put that back in. I don't think that changes anything there. Okay. So the ducts are being deleted, which is the thing we need to check. So all this is fine. The way we delete it, the deleting code works for that. Now what I'm interested in is... I think this will break if I go into scene. Let's randomly... Let's get a number between 1 and 0. Which is done how? So I can just randomly generate a number, then divide it, make sure it's divisible by 2. I think that's going to work. So in my code, wherever it is, instead of just doing this, we want to randomly generate a number. And I don't really care what it is at all. So random val, I guess, equals rand, turns an int, modular 0, sorry, 2 is equal to 0. If then that's yes. And instead of category, I am going to put this in here. So in theory we should get like random ordering. Sorry, not random ordering. Yeah, that's not right. Yes. Sorry, that's my Windows, not you. So, wow. I can imagine having 1 trillion samples for 120-bit floats. Jeez. This is a legendary YouTube home pull. Ah, appreciate that. Appreciate that, actually. Hopefully you enjoy the live stream, and you're here for it. Thank you for setting up. So what I'm trying to do here is, instead of having it... yeah, okay, so that's not going to work. What else do I need to do to make this work? So instead of going... well, oh, right, that's the other thing I need to fix. Random... okay, so that's also needs to be fixed with... random... yes, so this just needs to be replaced. Okay, so that should... we should get like a random list. Okay, yeah, so that's better. Weirdly, we're getting some missing models here, which I don't quite understand. It should be either divisible by 2 or not. Any number is the remainder when you divide by 2, 0 or not. That's how you check if something's even. Why are we getting that then? Random value is the category. Yes. And we check if the category is this or this. And we do either these things. Final thing we need to worry about is... yeah, so let's move all the ducks. I'm going to try that. There was a time when I was doing 16k samples per pixel. Whoa. For a single diffuse iridescence cube map. Wow. That's intense. Was that... how'd you even get in that situation? What were you trying to do? Were you trying to do image-based lighting or something? I don't know. I literally wouldn't know. Ah, right. So we don't necessarily have enough. Why is it dying though? $21, and it's dying at 19. Oh, okay, so I got to be careful of that. Don't just blindly copy from OpenGL for image-based lighting. I hope the theory's good because I've learned some of the theory from it, but not actually implemented the GLSL code / try to convert it to nice. Okay, so yes, that's a crazy amount of 124 samples. I mean, it works, but yeah, you only do it once when loading. I was going to say that's still a lot of sampling, but I guess that's going to like be so much more reduced once you build that map up. Alright, so it looks like when I have a random amount of things, we aren't getting... let's see this array again. Its size is 22. I don't understand this. Yes, that makes sense. That would make sense. It's a duck. Oh no, wait. Oh, I'm naming it. Yeah, I've named it something wrong. So doing 16K samples just means a bit longer load time. Yeah, well, you've very much dramatically sped up your load time, which is good. I assume with all your decompression and compression. But what we need to do is we need to have an entity data, right? So what we have here is we have entity data. You have entity data doc here. It's because I've hard coded this to. Yeah. So what I can do now is actually put this back with an entity category. Because we should have worked out here that this is a model type thing. So this is a valid model type that can actually move. It's dynamic. So now we just need to get the entity category. Hard coding that to be duck is actually probably a bad idea because that's the only entity that should be moving there. Yeah, this is the weird thing. I don't quite know why we're getting blank spots, which seem to get less. Like, why is this happening? Very strange. So we're getting a value other than 1 or 0 or 1. Or 0 is something else, actually. It's anything can be when you divide by 0. Sorry, divide by 2. The modular is either 0 or something else. Something else is odd. So I'm surprised that there's 3 states that we're in at the moment. But this is good. I need to keep beating this up now in ways that I don't expect to find bugs like this. Now I'm going to do something a bit different just to check. So I got this working for static variables. So I'm going to try trying to fix this in static mode. I think we've got too many broken things at the moment. So if we just regress back to a static state, where everything's static, but we have randomly placed values. So static. This is and non-moving. Because if we do that, we'll be able to. Everything kind of stabilizes a bit when we have a static and non-moving layer. Yeah, you've got to use the threads, man. So what do we get? Okay, so right. Okay, so that suggests that because all the things are here in a row, and if I start deleting things, I reckon it will kind of work. Ah, okay. Interesting, it completely blows up. So this is important. So this blows up here. We tried to delete this. Right, okay. I know why this is broken. Okay, so I made a bad assumption here. We need to fix this. This is the next thing. This is the next thing to tackle. Okay. When I set up the relationship between, because I need to have the collision geometry line up with the actual model, right? All I did is say, okay, get the last. So this is an instance count. So we have like this works really well if the last model, sorry, if the last debug model that you loaded needs to tie with the current model. So this is the last debug model that we have, and then this is now the index into that model. But when we've randomized the order, we can't rely on the last debug geometry model being an index into the current new entity. Because we actually don't know at which point was the last point drawn. So as soon as we use this variable, we end up breaking everything. So I need to figure out a way to relate both the debug geometry and the regular entity in a way that's this relationship needs to be robust, and it can't just be the last model that was created as far as I can tell. Because let's just do that again, and hopefully it just crashes when I press 0. Okay, so this will crash at some point. Okay, cool. And yeah, so okay, so this broke in a different... No, it broke here as well. Okay, so again, we have the rigid body index thing here. This is supposed to be a relationship that ties these two together, the debug geometry, and it's just not working that way. So I need to think about how to build this relationship. So this could be a hash map or something like that. But let's think how to do it with indices for a bit and puzzle through that, because it is important that we get the randomized order, because that's the best way to test this mapping. And it's probably partly related to why things start to break as we get more dynamic. So anyway. Okay, so let's just try a really simple idea, right? It's not going to be complicated at all. What I'm going to do is say, well, let's instance count our debug geometry first and just see how that maps to our data. This could break in a different way, and it probably will, but I just want to make sure that this works, because, let me explain a bit. We're incrementing by 1 in here, right? So we have an incrementation by 1 for the instance count down here. And then we pick up that instance here. So whatever that last value was, that's now the thing that we're supposed to be tying together with our entity. To me, that kind of makes sense. So if I think it's correct, I need to make sure that it's... ooh, interesting. Right, I'm going to ignore that for a minute and just see... Right. So I think we have a out of bounds read here, but that's fine. What I'm interested in is more when I delete stuff. Okay, no, it also breaks in the same way. Yeah, we get -1 on the index because we've All right, so let's put that back. And I'm kind of interested now to see... yeah, nice pulsar effect, there we go. So yeah, that's just corrupted data, if anyone's ever seen that before. So if we delete... So if I keep deleting stuff, eventually we're going to get that bug again. Or not. So it doesn't always happen, it looks like. Interesting. So that might be because we've got more ducks than rocks this time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah. So I think we have more space for things not to break, so. Today was the first ever time I included windows.h. Really? Felt cursed after doing it. 07 indeed. Hi TC, by the way. Hope you have a good day. Okay, so I want to have that crash happen. Okay, cool. So This is uint32's max number -1. I've seen this value enough that I know what that value is. So at this point, what we've done is we've taken the index value of 0, subtracted 1, and then it's rolled over. I don't know at what point it's rolled over. I don't know where we've subtracted it, but that's effectively what's happening. We've right, I know what's happened. What value is it? So it's index. No, I actually don't know what's happened. I thought it was size for a minute. So I feel like we've subtracted almost 2 from uint32. So for those who are wondering, uint32 max. You have this included in standard int if you're interested. But I wonder if we can actually look this up at runtime. There you go, look. See, it's like, stop it. 42, 9, 4, blah, 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 blah. 295 is the actual number. So we're getting 1 less than that. So at some point, we're subtracting 1 from 0 at the end of the subtraction. So we have index 0 here in one of these. I don't know which one it is. I think it's the rigid body index. So that will be the debug, this guy. So at some point in time, we have index 0. If that's the case, then we subtract 1. And then it breaks. So I think the algorithm we need here isn't to start at a random point in the index and then subtract 1 from the deleted thing. What we actually need to do is if I open up Nebula, and this is my testing framework where I just kind of throw things around. So if I just remove all this for a minute and just throw in a standard vector, which you're probably more familiar with. So what's happening here is we've got I'm going to add like a pretend random list, but I'm going to call it random. So pretend this is random, right? And I'm going to randomize between 0 and 10. So we have 4, 0, 7, 8, 9, 1, 3, 2. That was supposed to be a 2 and 5. So that's what we've got now, right? And what I'm trying to do is when I delete an entity from here, I go, okay, random find value, let's just say 0. And so that will be number 4. We delete that. And we do this by going... what am I trying to do here? So if we want to delete element 0, we need to move element 0. Okay, so we need a temporary... We need to do a swap. We need to do a standard swap. Standard swap between... Do I have swap available? Yep. Between that and the last element. So random size -1 equals, oops, random. So that's an index into that. Oops, that's not how you spell random. Right, okay, so that's going to swap the this value and this value. No, sorry, I've messed this up. I made a mistake. We need to do standard vector. Sorry, that would be delete swap erase. And I think all we need now is the dot begin. So hopefully that's deletes the first element in the array, which I'll print out. Oops, need that in a for loop. Let's use an enhanced for loop because it's easier to write. Also, I random, and then standard. So I'm getting to my point in a minute, I promise. We will get there. So if we print out this, we should get 07 blah blah blah. So 07 blah blah blah. Okay, cool. The problem is now the size of this array has shrank, and we have removed 4. And what these values are there. So there's 2 issues. So these values are supposed to be, let's say entity data, right? And I'm going to put this in a for loop just for simplicity. So just excuse me to do this a minute. And so 10. I believe I've got 10 in there. Else I've missed a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I missed 6. Okay. 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So pull this out. Put this here. Entities for a minute. I'm going to reserve 10. Because programming. Reserve some memory. And then we're just going to go entities dot pushback I for entity, sorry, dot data. And you don't like that? Okay, whatever. Entity doesn't really matter. Now, can I do this? This is just to make things easier. Hi, can you do that? Yep. And then data. Cool. Okay, so this is what we have. And when we want to index through them, let's make a... Let's do something a bit interesting here. Not that interesting, but... and then we're just going to take that and print out our for loop again. But this time we're going to print out the entity data. Sorry. Entities. We're going to print out our entities. It's got EN for now. And what's that going to print out is just characters. So I'm just going to have another one. Character. And kind of a break. Whoops. Not cut. Standard inline. Just going to add some thing. So entities are being printed here. That's just for our own sanity when we actually see this. Okay, so let's just do uint 8, I think. It's complaining about some conversion issue. We can just do that. We're not going bigger than 256 anyway. Comprise some narrowing. I really don't care that much. Can we just move on from this? I don't care about the narrowing. Why is it converting to int? Where's the int come from? this. None of this is a... You can't do that. Okay. Alright, we'll do that then. And we'll actually look this up. Let's look this up. Let's look up this value in the ASCII table. Yes, let's just do ASCII table. ASCII. Sorry about this. We just need to see an ASCII table for A. The value is 65. Okay, sounds good. 65. Oh yeah, I don't care about the Hey, how do you get good at maths for graphics? Sorry. How do you get good at maths for graphics? Practice. I know it seems silly to say that, but the maths that you need to know for graphics is pretty. You can be very restrictive, if that makes sense. You don't have to study all of maths, for example. Like, you may think that you have to go to university to study, like, calculus 1, 2, 3, and then do real analysis, and only then you can do linear algebra or something like that, right? When you're an engineer, you can pretty much just decide that, oh, I just want to do perfect. So I would suggest taking it one step at a time, learning the linear algebra fundamentals, and stick with it. I have read Foundations of Game Engine Development Part 1. That's a good book to read for maths. It's just a general foundation of game engine development Part 1. Like, it's just maths. It's just great. And it teaches it in a way that's like very practical for manipulating geometry. So it's not just like linear algebra. It's like, how do we represent a plane, for example, in a way that allows us to do the operations on a plane easier. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's you won't find this type of maths, this type of maths, for example, in other books. It actually goes into, like, it's not that long. It's quite a short book, to be honest. But it's like a good reference manual, and then it goes into geometric algebra at the end. And if you want to take geometric algebra a little bit further, there is a series which I do recommend if you've read that book, Zero to Geo, I think. He doesn't update it very often, but this guy kind of explains like what the wedge product is and how to do like geometric algebra type maths, which can be useful. But again, this is not as important as just like learning the fundamentals of like how matrices work, how coordinate spaces work together, what's an orthographic transform. That's just kind of like after you've read this and kind of interpreted why. All this is basically doing is explaining why the cross product when it comes to vectors is anti-commutative. And if you don't know what that means, that just means like let me just write it in Notepad++. It's just easy if these are two vectors. These are two vectors, right? And I go A X, so cross product B is equal to A minus XB. So that, like, it just explains, like, in 3D. These are only these are 3D vectors. Only in 3D. Like, it explains like why this only works in 3D, what's going on, in that kind of stuff. So yeah. Oh, thanks for reactions, guys. Appreciate that. I'm new here. Can you tell me can you tell me about the features of the game and mainly about the rendering side? Hi, hi everyone. So I'm new here. Can you tell me about the features of the game? So we're gonna have like a little space game where you can fly around and do things. I'm not gonna talk too much into that. The rendering is going to be as simple as it needs to be for the game I'm trying to make, because I want to make the game engine actually have a game tied to it, right? There's a lot of game engines out there that have no game. So I'm trying to actually release a game that's like not a spinning triangle, which I've actually done before. The last game I released was like it's not very stable. It's on itch.io. Excuse this. It's like this. I want to make this like I made a game. I have made games with game engines before, but it's just like I want to make like a playable thing. This all you do in this game is walk around. So what we're trying to do is we have just basic writing. Yeah, exactly. It's one of them, isn't it? Everyone, Minecraft. Hello, Mado. How you doing? So we are going to do very basic lighting. We're going to do point light as much as I can get away with, unless I need some spot lighting. I'm probably gonna implement a few graphical things, mostly for reducing how much we draw in a scene. But more important is the actual functionality of the game, like gameplay-wise. Right now, anyway. So I'm letting the game drive what we end up implementing. So the render is actually quite basic. It only has it has 3 graphics pipelines at the moment. One for the skybox, one for the debug geometry, and one for everything else. It has a physically based renderer solution for the fragment shader. And unfortunately, at the moment, that only operates under one light. So that needs to be fixed, but you know, one step at a time. I will get there. Oh, I appreciate that, dude. Minecraft. I will do my best, and I'll try and keep you updated. When the thing comes out. I do have a deadline, but I'm not going to say it out loud because it's one of those things where it's like you talk about the deadline and then you miss the deadline. But I'm going to try and be strict with myself and work as hard as I can to have something out there. Anyway, so let's go back to my demo. So what we're doing here is we're building a demo application to demonstrate the problem I'm having. Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you can appreciate that. So, entities. Actually, this is not what I want to do at all. Let me rearrange this. This is wrong. So, what I'm trying to do with this, this is a I equals 0, I is less than random, right? So this is the problem. Plus I. What game engine are you developing in? I'm using my own engine. I called it the Void engine. If you do want to look at the source code, it is in the description of the live stream if you're interested. So yeah, I'm trying to be strict with myself that I make sure this game engine has a game. It's not usable by any other people. I mean, you can download the source code and do what you want with it, but it's it's not in a state for other people to really mess with. I mean, like I said, you can do what you want, but yeah. So we go in here and we get the uint32 entity index. So this isn't what we're working on immediately, right? What you're seeing on the screen right now isn't the actual engine. This is just me trying to simplify the problem down so it's actually visible what we're actually doing. So random, oops, I. So these are just random index values. And then what we do is we hop into our entities. And then we use the entity index. And dot data, right? So we can actually see what's going on. Great. I have a question. How can we develop our own game engine? I would say make sure you know the fundamentals. Make sure you're doing something interesting that actually keeps you motivated. Find a community so you can talk about how good or bad things are going. So this is how our thing works right now. So we have AHIJB blah blah blah. As soon as we remove an entity from the list, we end up in a bad situation, because when I do an erase, for example, on the first... Oh, I actually already do that. And finally, don't use when you're learning this for the first time, don't use AI to write your code for you. You'll end up being able to make better products when you're starting out, not when you get more advanced. It actually sets you at a ceiling. But when you're learning, you'll find projects easier to do but harder, but you'll become worse as a programmer. Interesting. This is actually might be a really good solution idea, actually. So we loop through the... So yeah, that's what I would say. That's what I'd suggest. You need a goal as good a sense of, yeah, 100%, yeah. And just take it easy on yourself, honestly. It's one of these things where people can get too hard on themselves. It is a difficult thing. It's one of the hardest programming tasks that exist to do, is make your own game engine. It's harder than like building a website, for example. It's probably, I don't know exactly if this is true, but it's about as difficult as making an operating system. They're at least in the same category to make a really good one. Like, you can make a really simple operating system or a really simple game engine. Like, you can just escape real mode, for example, in an operating system with a bootloader. That's not going to take that much time to learn. And you can also render a triangle in Vulkan. But to actually make it do something impressive and useful, that takes some effort. Like loading a flat binary in C, for example. That's a lot harder to do with an operating system than just booting into something. And, you know, vice versa when it comes to game engines. Yeah, I think Minecraft's on something, yeah. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, if you're developing the kernel. Yeah. It is doable, but you've got... It's a whole thing. Anyway, let's get back into this. So... I think this is a terrible idea. I'm trying to think about how to fix... I want to implement this idea, what we've done here, into my engine. So at the moment, what I was doing originally is I was looping through a deleted entity, right? Setting the element of which we were deleted from, and then minusing one from all the entities. This only works if the entities are in increasing order. If I randomize the order, then everything kind of breaks. This could still work if I absolutely guarantee that everything's in the same order, but it's... Let me think. Yeah, feel free to join my Discord. Yeah, it's linked somewhere on my channel. I will give you a unless you've... Sorry, I missed some chat there, bro. Bro, what language will you suggest me to learn for game dev and game engine devs? I know Java. Java's fine. It's just going to be slower than a language like C++. I would say anything that's like C++. C++ has the most tutorials out there, and it's like a general purpose language, so you can use as much or as little as you need to. But yeah, we need to figure out this array thing, so I'm going to dive into this for a bit. Because I am kind of stuck, and I want to make sure I make progress today. So we have entity index, debug index. But yeah, feel free to find the Discord, ask questions in there, and I can come back to you, and other people can help you out. It's for anyone's welcome at any level, just as long as you follow the rules. There aren't strict. It's just be cool and chill, and and you should be good. Right? Okay. So yeah, we have this issue where I need to basically use the outer array when we're actually rendering, I think. No, when we're updating. When does this break? This breaks when... Right, I'm going to get rid of this and just see... When I randomize the order, like, what ends up breaking? So, TT has said the second buffer for indexing into an array. Yeah, we need something like that. So this obviously works for static geometry where we have everything in lines. So let's delete the... So I'm trying to delete the docs. Are the docs being deleted normally? If I keep going, does it crash? Okay, it does crash. And I think it's because... Okay, so this is different than I expected, actually. The erase... Ah, okay, so... This is more subtle than I expected. I need to be more careful with this erase. This is tricky. So this is like the crappy erase function I'm doing, but I think it's actually to do with... Okay, so what are the values? Are you going to tell me? No? Oh, let's move to... No, it's... okay, 9. Okay, 9. So the index is 9. Where's that 9 come from? So it's this. It's actually this one this time. Interesting. It's almost like I need to order them from front to back no matter what. Which I thought I was doing, but I'm clearly not. You need to close the error prompt to see the debugger. Ah, I see. Thank you. For some reason. Yeah, that's just Visual Studios, I guess, being Visual Studios. Hi, I want to mention that your voice is very satisfying to listen to, man. Ah, thank you. I appreciate that, dude. Yeah, that's... I don't have any bot, unfortunately. I'll load up my specs when I'm compiling, so you can actually see them. I don't have a really good computer. Alright, so let's think about this a bit more. So why is that happening? That's what I don't understand. So when we delete stuff... and... Is it when we get to the end? Interesting. Yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's just do that one more time, because I want to clarify if that's actually the case. So let's delete again. So we are got to see the rubber ducks. Like around here, we should... Okay. Index 14, interesting. So it's not like... Huh. And is it always the same array? That's the next thing I want to check. What GPU do I have? I have a NVIDIA 4070 graphics card. That's probably the best thing I have. Why are you doing it? I only want to delete the docs and it's deleting random stuff. Is it always the same array? That's what I want to check now. Okay, so what did we crash on? We crashed on 40... No. Okay, so we crashed on this line because that's how things work. Let's just make sure that's actually true. Yes, I did buy a new GPU just for meshes. Just for mesh shading. Yeah, it's in one of my videos. This is all very confusing, but I want to see if it crashes. Okay, so it crashes, and we have No, it does crash in there as well if we end up... Okay, so what is the difference then if I do all this? Right, I'm going to restore this for a minute. I think it's my crappy deletion code, to be honest, that I've written. I might have to study data structures and algorithms for a minute. Not on stream, but like how does standard array delete vector? Sorry. How does this work? Obviously, if you go into this code, you're going to be blinded by the worst unreadable code of all time. Yeah, you really have to know your C++ standard stuff if you look at this. Because it does return something, but it also deletes something. But I'm not entirely sure if it so assuming that we don't do this error, it does an M check. Then it does some kind of destroy function. Orphan range. Not entirely sure what that means. Here's C++20. So that might be threading. It might be thread safety there. Yeah, because this... Okay, so it is built... Okay, so that's going all the way down to... that was my Windows... apologies. But I'm just wondering if it does a... It deletes a pointer at... So we have a pointer at this position. We have an allocator, which isn't used, interestingly. And this goes over a range. So yeah, we need to actually deallocate the piece of memory at that point, I think. And I think that's the problem right now. We're not doing this properly. I think I can give that a shot and just see if, because all we're doing is shifting things around. If I can deallocate a piece of memory, because I can allocate a piece of memory. Like this is the deallocate function. And if I take the... Right, I'm just going to comment this out for a bit. If I take the data, and then we have a pointer by the index value, and we deallocate that. I'm not entirely sure if that is how things work in my code, so I don't know if that's just going to blow up. Yeah, one suggestion after this issue is fixed, you might have a serializer, deserializer to save the scene, etc. Yeah, oh yeah, we're gonna. Right now, I'm trying to avoid as much code as I can as write. So we're gonna end up. You temporarily write your own containers. See if the issue is fixed. Oh, you already have your own. My bad. Yeah. I'm trying to do this. The GTX 6050 is okay to start things with. Yes, that's a fine GPU. That even supports mesh shading. It's actually one of the first GPUs to support mesh shading. It doesn't support ray tracing though, so just be aware of that. Now my question is, this is a void star pointer, and I get a uint32. So I'm thinking that. Sorry. No. We need the address at which that is in, not the actual value. Yeah, I'm just trying to see if this is even like remotely possible. This is just a test. Surely you shouldn't be deallocating in the middle of a range. I also start using I just want to see what my deallocator does when I just delete a random point in a pool of memory. Cool. So that's what I wanted to see. That was my Windows stuff. So we have gone into the TLS function. Because I'm kind of interested to see if we can actually remove a piece of memory in the middle. Yeah, so we can grow. Let's see how we can grow. Sorry, this is being a bit So we allocate a piece of memory, and we deallocate if capacity. Yeah, because this changes the range. So we actually need to do, I think what we need to do is something similar, but in reverse. Instead of allocating more memory, we need to allocate a smaller piece of memory. And kind of, oh, this is tricky. I'll come back to this. This is something I can work off. I think I need a bit of revision on how to deallocate a random piece of memory in an array of memory, while keeping and then reconstructing how you iterate through. So what I'm going to do for now is, yeah, I think I'm getting a bit lost in the weeds here. Let me think. How can I get around this? Why have I got this open? Don't need my bounding volume hierarchy. What I might try to do then... delete swap is 10 times easier to deal with. That's as far as I can... that's as far as I know. But delete... hang on. Let's simplify things down. Why do you need to deallocate on every erase? How does... I was just looking at C++ and it looks like they do a deallocation. In destroy. But maybe I'm just not... it's not a good idea to follow this. This one maybe. But anyway, I'm going into like... this is super awkward to read. They do that underscore thing when it's private, which is good. Anyway, yeah, what I'm going to deal with... what I'm going to do... I'm kind of... let's get out of vector. An X memory. Right, what I'm going to do then is do a delete swap, because that does work. That is 100%, but it breaks. I'm also going to go back to my scene code where I'm generating these models, and I'm not going to randomize the order anymore. I'm just going to set them in sequence, because we're going to restore back to like basics. So static, not moving, that's fine. And what we need to do here is reactivate this, remove this, and change this to I, so we have a sequence. And then I just want a category. Cool. Okay, so that should everything back to normal. Oh, you do think it's an all analog? Okay, right. That's good to know at least. You started using source control. It's amazing. I'm glad you found out my source control. I honestly think that I keep forgetting like how because I use source control. I've been using source control for forever, and I forget like some people don't know about it. It's like highly recommended. Anyone who's new, someone was asking me about like what language to use. At some point, also learn source control. I keep forgetting to mention about that if you haven't already. And what that means is learn Git. Right. Right, so I want to try and fix it so this works. But as far as I can tell, I think that it successfully deletes all the docs, but it doesn't delete all the things, right? The camera movement seems so smooth. How did you do it? I did it with Slurp. Spherical linear interpolation. But I can show you the code quickly. So I have this... you can ignore this. This would be commented out if you're actually using the game. This is just to make sure that Actually, should go up here. The rest of it's actually here. So, but you can still ignore that. That's at the top here as well. This is just when I press the right click, I have access to. I then move with the camera. I then do add linear movements based on the left and right, up, down, and all that kind of stuff. I build up the movements, and here's the interesting part where I actually do some delta based on rotation speed, and then I do lerp 3, which is I think it's slurp as far as I can tell, where we lerp over it. No, I'm lying. This is not slurp. This is a lerp over 3 positions. Sorry. I don't know what I was thinking there, but yeah, it's like a nice. But feel free to look at this if you want to look at this yourself in your own time, so you can actually see the code. It is in source application game camera. So if you open up my GitHub and have a look, then you'll be able to see. But I'm not doing anything that interesting. I just have the up-down direction camera. It's just basic stuff. Add scaler. If you use GLM, these functions can translate very easily to GLM. This will just be an add vector, a scale vector, and alert between positions. So it's like a 3D lerp, if that makes sense. I thought it was slurp for some reason. So yeah. Yeah, no problem. I'm glad you found it interesting. Yeah, thanks for taking interest. I will hop back. Right. So. Okay, so I know delete swap works, so I'm going to try and work with that for a minute. So I'm going to check if the what math lib is that. That is CGML. It is the C version of GML. It has less features, so if you do want to use it, just be aware of that. But I don't need I don't need that many features, to be honest. I just like the C interface more. So I think what's happening, no. I thought it deletes the docs, but it doesn't. Interesting. Now it's not. Oh. Okay. I just like the C one. That's it. There isn't any advantage. It also just helps me if I wanted to write some SIMD. Hypothetically, if I just wanted to like throw the SIMD version in, if I go back to game camera for a minute. Like, there's no overloaded operator function I have to find. I can just go, alright, yeah, go here, find it. Alright, go here, find it. Alright, go in here, finally. And then I can just be like, alright, SIMD this. Or whatever, you know. This is a bad example because it's literally just a multiplication, but you know what I mean. It's just like much easier to be like, alright, let's simplify this. Because it's all just functions, right? It's all because that's the advantage of C. It's like, I know for maths operations you could argue that it's more convenient to have. You could totally do this in overloaded operator. It's just like navigating to those functions is easier for me. It's very preference based. There's no like, the overloading operators is completely fine as well. It's just it feels more true to what the computer is doing, if that makes sense, right? When you actually have a function that runs the code in 2 arguments. Because overloader operating just makes it nicer for the programmer, but under the hood, that's what's happening. It's just like taking 2 arguments and doing an operation on them. So I kind of like that honesty when it comes to C libraries. When it comes to the maths libraries, it's just a multiplication by 2 components in a in a function. Right, okay, so we need to. Alright, I'm going to keep doing this over and over again because I need to figure this out. Alright, so let's delete. So when it gets to a particular point, when do they start disappearing? Are we halfway through? No. Has it deleted these? Right, okay, so I think I know what's happening. If I delete the first one, I think that's going to work. But then I delete the second one. I think it deletes these, yeah. In reverse order. That's what's happening. Right. So more or less. Okay. So if I can't rely on the order in here, how do I connect these two together? When rendering. I don't actually care about the deletion. It's almost like I need like a big, not a data structure, but like a GUID or something. Like all this is coming down to like, you delete something out of an array, and that array has indices into other things. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, functions are just jumps and abstractions over jump subroutines. Yeah, 100%. Okay, let me think about this on a wider level. So, so we have, I want to type it up. Hang on, let me think. Let me think about this a bit. So what I'm puzzled with is if I have indices into okay, let's go back to this. And I do a delete swap. Then the order at which these were created in no longer match. I can't rely on. I can't just iterate through them and do this. This is not going to work. So how do I find the index value that corresponds to these two? If the order at which these were created here doesn't correspond to this, the order at which these were created here. Let me think. So every time I delete something, it's effectively a reshuffle every single time. I've got to treat it like that. I can't rely on the order. And I would need to... why Windows? No, the reason is because most gamers are still on Windows. I have to make my primary operating system the development platform of what most people use. That's just as simple as that. I do have a Linux build. This does work on Linux. My engine, at least. Second array holding actual int that never get reshuffled. I think it needs to be able to be reshuffled. Then hold. Hang on. Let me read what you said again. Second array holding the actual never gets reshuffled arrays. Then holds indices into the index array, not entity array. Then holds. Okay. Let me Let me think. This is one of these things. So, I do a delete swap. I want to print... A. I don't know where that index lives inside the vector random. How do you find the value that corresponds with that value? So we have a... Let me just chew on this as well. That's the problem I'm trying to solve right there. So if I want to print out A, which is like the first thing that gets created, which would be, I guess, 0 in this case. How would I know to go like this? This is what I need to know how to do. So... So this is what I need to be able to do in my simplified version of the engine. Random 2 dot data. So that will print A. Now, it's possible when I do a delete swap though on random, where I say, okay, so index 0. Sorry. Let's delete, yeah, let's delete index 0. So I'm going to type out this, temp, and we need to get the last element here. Dot size, -1. So, and then we go, okay. Random value 0, which is the one we're deleting, equals temp. And then we go random pop back. Now, yes, we could have used a swap function there, but I kind of want to be very explicit what we're trying to do. Now, when we do this type of operation on our entity list, this value changes. I always think that it's tricky, isn't it, TT? Just let the index, array index, -1 or something. Do I care about if that's the case, if I just set it to -1? Let me just play our music. Yeah, this is game development, folks. Struggling with how arrays are handled when you have a lot of layers of indirection. Yeah, the reason I have to do this, guys, if you're not course up, is because I have an array of positions that everything's laid out in. So when I actually load this in, right? I need to arbitrarily delete whatever like this, and then like this. Now, this when you have to synchronize this with its GPU and the CPU, this becomes a little bit more complicated. And I'm trying to make it so it's automatic on top of that, so I don't have to worry about it in the future. And because of that automation side of things, it's getting even more complicated. Because I want to just be able to go, okay, yeah, delete this fella, and then delete this rock or something. That's why I put everything in order and color graded it, so I can actually see. The second complexity that adds even more complexity to this is because the collision geometry, which is what this sphere is, right? Not the duck itself, but this collision geometry. These are also separate arrays that I need to be able to delete. So I need to make sure this relationship between this duck and this collision geometry, this purple thing here, are maintained. So if I delete the duck, for example, and then I don't delete this sphere, which you've probably seen a couple of times if you've been watching this stream, we end up in a situation where we end up deleting the wrong thing, and it gets all like messy. So yeah, it's a tricky one. Hopefully that explains kind of like why I'm going into here and debugging it by numbers, because it's much simpler to work with this type of data, and then we can extrapolate this out. But this is the problem I'm having, right? So we have a entities, we have a random thing where it stores the random unique things, but I don't know how to index into that in a way that we can actually get something meaningful. Bit mask would be too small. We would run out of space too quickly. So you're saying you want to be able to click on an entity and the engine knows exactly which one you clicked on. Yeah, exactly, yeah. That's exactly right, yeah. But we also need to be in gameplay, right? In gameplay, like for example, if I decide that I want to wipe out everything, wipe out all the ducks, for example, because we're moving to a different level, because there's no more ducks or something, I need to be like, all right, find all the ducks, delete them all, right? In a very fast and efficient way. Or delete an individual duck if you've crashed into it. Ray casting plus bounding volume hierarchy. Yes, that would be good. For the actual collision detection itself. But I'm trying to do as well on top of that, like I said just before, like a way to just like delete them when I want to, or when I want to add them. Let's just say I want to add 100. I want to just like add 100 extra elements on. I can. It feels like a simple issue, but I know this is going to be tricky. This is why we're in part 2. I feel like we're going to be here for a while. Then you use ray casting against the bound and volume hierarchy, which is much more optimized. We do have about bounding volume hierarchy already in the physics engine I'm using. So that would tell me what we've collided into, but it doesn't. I think it quite solves our problem. I don't think. Okay, so here's my thing. I don't think what I've done here is actually helpful. Yeah, I can't see. Thank you for suggestions, by the way. AMX. So I'm just going to talk about this for a minute. I don't think this idea of having like a random set of numbers that then we can just somehow know what to index into is useful. I think the order has to be preserved no matter what. We cannot have a system where we do a delete swap. Which means we have to be careful when we delete something. Alright, I think I'm gonna use standard vector for now because I can't think of another way of doing this. Yeah, I'm gonna use standard vector. I'm gonna cop out because I want to see if this works first before I start having to implement something. So yeah, we're gonna use standard vector. Why do you need the order to be preserved? Well, oops. If I do a delete swap, for example, on this, and then I try to say like, oh, I want index, I want the last index, which I know for a fact is, let's just say we want the first index, right? I've already deleted this. We do delete swap. We mess around with the order. Then in the future, this doesn't necessarily have the same value in. Yeah, the more delete swaps I do, the less likely this is going to be what I think it is, which in this case it's going to be 0 again. But you know, I could put this as like 8, right? And then put this as 0 so we don't say 0 twice. I expect this to be index 8 when I look up this value. But if I do a delete swap on something like 6, let's just say I want 6. Yeah, I think this, yeah, okay, so let's just say I want the last element. Because this, so I get the last element. I think it's 6, but it's actually been delete swapped around. It's now 5 or 2 or something, but this is now all in a different place. So yeah, it's like all this gets mixed around, and it's tricky because it's I don't know how to do the secondary index which actually stores everything. So let me think. Is there a way to do this? Yeah, maybe I could do that actually. Don't do a delete swap on the index array. Hang on. Is there, I know it seems dead stupid. Is there a way to just put the order back again? Because I swap then delete. Can I just swap back? Or is that just not? I know I'd have to move everything down one and then put the guy over here, I think. So I'm deleting the first element, it becomes 6. Sorry guys, this is a bit convoluted. This becomes 4. We delete 4. I want to put the order back. So now we need to do this. Yeah. 6. Yeah, okay, so that would preserve the order. If that was one operation. Because what I was trying to do is this. You see that? The way everything moved? I was trying to do that in memory. Okay, so delete, swap the entities, but keep the index array in the same order. Yeah, let me. Oop, I'm not gonna find it there, am I? Just mark the index as invalid. Yeah, so in here we say that okay, let me just see where we're up to. Hang on. I've kind of forgotten what we were even visually seeing. Oh, hang on. Yeah, that was the... So if I did that, hang on. Let me just... So when I do this, it kind of all works. That's what we want to see. That's actually correct. Which I thought was good, but it clearly doesn't fix everything when we expand out to general cases. So at element here, we could just say, not instead of erase, uint 32 max. Oh, what is this then? Okay, so that's an element itself. Whoops. Element. So this is the thing we want to delete. Uint 32 max. And we're going to set this for this. Hey, the big loose goose. The big loose goose is back. Welcome back, dude. Just puzzling through some deletion things. I'm just staring at this, trying to think about the consequences of this. Yeah, we did solve some bugs. We got this working up to a point. Now swap and bop. These guys. Delete swap. Delete swap. Let me think. Sorry, I'm being a bit quiet. I'm just trying to. My neurons are firing at full speed. If I was to talk, it would be gibberish. So, but I will try and explain it a little bit. So we have this. Okay, the only way I can talk about it is going back to this. I just don't think this idea is useful. If we do a pop and swap in this, we can't. So what people are suggesting is we have a value where we go, okay, an invalid. We deleted this, and then we deleted this, and then we deleted this. If it's -1, then we've deleted it. We don't actually need to do anything with it. The only thing that matters are these. So that means the order is preserved. And it doesn't then matter what we do with the other elements. We can do it. We can do anything crazy because that's actually what we're interested in. And then someone in the chat also said we can actually clear these out one by one. Sorry, at the end of the frame, so we don't end up doing anything funky. This is. I don't think it matters when we actually delete this. So we update this. So, yeah. I actually wanted to ask you something. I have learned mostly Python in school. I started learning C++ a while back, and now I'm following the Learn OpenGL book. The website. I read book. No, the Learn OpenGL book. You said book. At what point should I shift to Vulkan? You're learning JavaScript. Nice. Nilomation. I'd love to see you, dude. Thank you for joining us again. I'd advise not to try Vulkan. Okay, so if you want to learn Vulkan, I don't recommend learning OpenGL. I know it seems kind of redundant and silly to say this, but you're not going to learn Vulkan if you learn OpenGL. You're going to learn OpenGL. Now, there's going to be some crossover when you actually learn, when you go to learn Vulkan after you've learning OpenGL. But the people have said, like, it's good to know OpenGL because there's some stuff that crosses over. You're going to learn, that was like for when Vulkan was new, and it's like Kronos is trying to get you to use Vulkan kind of thing. There are some similarities, but there is some things that aren't the same at all. Like the swap chain management, for example. You're going to have to learn that from scratch. So, yeah, I would say, yeah, go ahead and just dive into Vulkan. If you want to learn Vulkan, if you want to learn graphics, that's a different story. You might want to just try graphics out, and yeah, OpenGL's fine for that. But again, you won't be learning Vulkan if you are learning OpenGL. Anyway, so TT, those indices can be cleared. Just reuse the spots the next allocation. Yeah, that's a good idea actually. We could just reuse the yeah, we just can't do a delete swap on this fella. Because it doesn't matter what we do then. We have to know the order of this. We have to absolutely know the order to be able to do this. Sorry, to be able to do this. There's just no way. There's no way as a programmer can we just randomly know what the memory is based on something. Actually, that should be like this. I've kind of done this twice. I know that was correct. Hang on. So I'm going to try what you guys have said. I think that's quite a good idea. If I just have some invalid indices in here, then the order is preserved and things get deleted. Even if we don't end up reusing them or doing anything fancy with our memory yet, what I'm going to try is this. I'm going to try that -1. Okay. And I'm pretty convinced that we just absolutely cannot do anything with what we expected. And it also makes it so that the only... Oh, okay, so this is the second issue. Okay, so we solved one issue. That's great. The second issue is the index can be too large. For example, let's go back to this for a minute. This is the second issue I've had. If I've deleted something out of entities, which let's just throw this in here instead, right? And we've done. Why are you complaining? Oh, that's why. If we delete something out of this. Oh, 1 minute, guys. I need to shut the windows. It is raining. I will be right back. Hang on, let me just print this to the screen. Yeah. We live in England. We've got to deal with it. Back. Get rid of that now. Notepad. Right. Okay. So, yeah. Let's keep going with what we were doing. Zig is 100 times better than C. I will let you guys talk about that. I have no no stakes in that argument / debate. Okay, so you int 32 max. Okay. And now we've got to deal with that problem where we have an index that's too large. And if it's in a random order, we've got to write an algorithm that subtracts 1 from everything that's larger than a particular number. So we basically need to do a predicate with a standard operation to do that kind of thing. So if we have a predicate function which is something like Boolean test, we have the index value, sorry, we have the index, yeah, okay, so value, we return if, how do we get the array data in? Also, is there a good reason for using Vulkan over DirectX? There is. I would say the only reason I would use Vulkan over DirectX is because it's not cross-platform DirectX. So you can't get it running on Linux. If you don't care about that, then DirectX is certainly an option. Well, you can with extra layers of... You have to... When I say natively, it's not native... You can't natively run this on Linux. It's just going to have the readability of Python strictness. So you're just talking about, yeah. Anyway, I'll let you guys discuss that while I think about my predicates. So I want to write a lambda. Let's do it. Just doing a lambda. Hang on. This is like a perfect use case for a lambda. Also, I don't know. Less than, I guess. Is equal to. So how do I want to do this? I want to capture things by reference. And then I want to say if the value index which we're passing in is return. Let's do... I know it doesn't really matter, but... we want to say random, we captured it, it's index, this has to be a, this needs to return true or false based on something. And yeah, something like this. Then it return. Then we can do this. Hang on. Let's see if there's a standard algorithm for this. This might be way easier than I thought. So, subtract. I don't know. C++ subtract is a very niche a value from an entire array, something like that. So let's just see if there's like a thing that I'm just being. Okay, so this is... No. No, I'd... Oh, sorry. Random. Jeez. Ugh, can't type. Random dot end, and then the predicate is doot doot doot. So no, this is actually simpler. We just need to say, here's the elements. Equals, I don't know, 4. Return true if elements how do you do find if? I'm literally forgetting how to do these things because I don't use this at all. Standard find if. Apologies, you should not forget how to do these. I just need an example. Yeah, it's possible implementation. Yeah, find if is even. Yeah, okay. I figured it out. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to subtract 1 if the values are... So this feels like a... It almost feels like a LeetCode problem I'm trying to solve. Not the biggest fan of this type of programming, but hey. Okay, so if the returned value is greater than element, what do we end up returning here? We end up returning something probably annoying, like an iterator constant or something stupid. What is this? Yeah, it's a standard iterator. So based on that iterator, then we can go into our vector, which is this, and indexing it with IT, I think. Get yeah. Why are you on Windows when you can use Linux? It's better. The only reason I'm on Windows is because most gamers are still on Windows. I am responding to the fact that more gamers are on Windows. Sorry, on Linux, and I am making sure this runs on Linux. As soon as I finish something on Windows, I then make sure it works on Linux, and I'm trying to make that as nice as possible for you guys. Why don't you, you know what to do. Why don't you just do... Yeah, let's do it. I could just do it for the whole operating system, actually. RM-RF delete life. How do I get into an array with the iterator? I've completely forgotten. I feel like a noob right now. No, that can't be it. That's just going to give me the value. Oh, yeah, duh. I could just be like... What am I doing? Holy, I've just literally complicated my whole life. Everything under it. Literally, I spent 10 minutes doing something I didn't need to do at all. You know there's something called an if statement, escape point, which allows you to do this. And then you can just go, alright. Holy my goodness, I don't know. I think I've been programming too long. This is like, I'm on hour 6 of programming. Yeah, minus. Done. Okay, that was stupidly simple. I don't know why. I don't know why I was struggling with that for so long. Oh my goodness, that's so stupid. So again, this could be out of order because of a delete swap, so we can't rely on the order. But that's fine. Yeah, I probably need a break after this if I'm struggling with that. Oh, how embarrassing. I was like, oh yeah, we gotta use a find if, then we gotta use an iterator, then we've gotta... It's like I'll end up going insane soon. My goodness. Okay, so we actually need the entity index here. And if this is greater than... You can't decrement all increments if you do a swap and pop. You might want to store the reverse index in indices, then swap. What I'm going to do is just going to skip over entities that are bigger than a particular value that I've already deleted. Which I already have the value for. Like this, right? And then if that's bigger than that, meaning that anything bigger than that is that, let me just do this. Okay, so we're going to have to do this slightly differently for this as well. So, yeah, that needs to be there. So this is a little longer. And then this, because that's not necessarily the same deal here. For the debug. Okay, that was simple. Once I realized I was being dumb. Okay, so we have fixed the issue. Okay, so the final thing I would fix is if this next thing is okay, let's just or I'm just gonna have to all these, I think. If this is equal to uint32 max. Okay, so this is much better. This just makes things simple. Okay, right. Okay, cool. Thank you for bearing with me there. Make sure this is correct. All right. And same deal here, but with our, yep, let's go to this. So the only difference here is we, oops. Okay, cool. Backspace, thank you. Right, done. Okay. Bit of logic. Yeah, because these corresponds to this array. Yeah, okay, this is fine. And this value comes from here. Okay, so what I've done here is, let me talk through it. So we get the current entity that we're about to delete. We actually get its index. Then we here we're just subtracting 1 from the instance count for instance rendering. So this is just not that useful for what we're going to talk about. But then we go in here. We say, okay, so once we've got that element, which we did here, we then say, okay, we're going to delete that one because it's the one we're going to delete. We set this to -1 effectively, or the max uint 32. Then we go into the elements. We have to then make sure that for each entity's index that we find here and here, which is for the debug one as well, we subtract 1 because, again, if we go back to here and we delete one element from our list that we're going to index through this array here, 9 is never going to exist anymore. That's going to be too large because this is now shrank. That's if we were to iterate through our index thing, which we call random in this case. Okay, so that's why we had to -1 from there. And because we're deleting 1 at a time, we can just increment it. And we also have to make sure that we aren't about to try and delete something that's already been deleted. Let's just make sure this doesn't happen twice, I think. What we need to do here is the other way. We need to put this in a different place. Right. Then we can set the, okay, so we need to do that minus first, otherwise every single time that we try to delete something it'll be already this value. So this is the case if we're already deleting something. Because we're going through all the entities, we're subtracting 1 from, if this is larger than that, than the thing that we indexed earlier, which we're going to delete. And finally, then we do a delete swap on the thing. Okay. How does that sound, guys? That sounds good? I mean, let's just see if this makes any sense. Maybe it might work, who knows. But I have a feeling it's just going to crash because that's what I'm used to. So what are we doing? We're deleting element 0. And because the array... Okay, we'll worry about the array size later. And if I want to delete the next one, I've missed something out. I haven't missed something out. This is just because the element is going to stay the same size. We need to increment by 1 to delete the next guy. Otherwise, yeah, we won't be able to debug. This is just for debug purposes. Okay, so we should... Cool. Oh. What's happening there? Let's see. Oh, nearly. Okay. Okay, let me fix the music. We're just getting repeating music again. I will work on this until death. I will get this working. Or die trying. And let's pick this. Make sure it's randomized. Yeah, so YouTube playlists sometimes just fail for me and just start repeating themselves. Okay, is it working? Yep. Let me think. What am I going to do next? I don't think we ever went in here, that's the thing. Or did we? Let's just put breakpoints in. And what index are we on? 1. That subtracts 1 from this. Nice. I think it's always happening, yeah. Yeah, because we delete the first element, so that's actually a good test. And we then say that's out of use. And this as well, I guess. Okay. Oops. And okay, so we deleted that, which is not right. Let's think. Even though we used, I think this is fine. This code's fine. It's the actual drawing code now we need to fix. So what I think is happening is we're not getting the actual entity index when we need it. Yeah, we were just going through like an array now. Are the debug spheres getting deleted properly? Hang on. It's kind of yeah, they are. Okay. Interesting. It's almost like you write 10 lines of code and then delete 9 of them tomorrow. Maybe. Yeah, it's tough. This is a tough problem. I mean, maybe a smarter guy than me can work this out. But to do that, I've got to struggle with these type of problems to become that guy. Maybe try to work out the deletion logic in a simplified example. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So if I've deleted, let's just throw in, let's put 0 here, right? I know that this is in sequence now. I can rely on this being in order. And I want to delete, so in this case I've deleted number 3, for example. And I've delete swapped number 3, which would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So I think this is it. I know. Let's just do standard swap here. So 3 and the last element in the list. Yep. Stop it. Right, so they swap around. That becomes -1. Then what I want to do is subtract all the elements. Skip every element that's -1. But I should be able to just still do this and still print out A. Even though I've done a delete swap on this guy. Let's see. Maybe... Oh. Okay, so maybe try to work out some... Yeah, okay. You don't have to delete swap entity 3. Oh, okay. I was wondering if you could use back. I can't remember if it's end or back. Or, of course, yeah, that makes sense. I got it confused with... I was like, oh, we can't use back. That's the same as end. No, it's not. You are right. I could avoid swap altogether. Equals entity. Oops. Right. Okay. So I'm gonna give everyone my link to my Discord server just so it's convenient for you guys. No, that's. I must give you a link to the Vulkan programming graphics server. Right, I'm going to work on this off stream, but yeah, it's 5 o'clock. This is usually when I clock off. I hope everyone, you've had a fantastic stream. Thank you for bearing with me, by the way. I know it's not the most graphically interesting stream of all time right now, but we'll get there. It's a tough problem to solve, and this will allow me to do a lot more in the future. So this is important. It is relevant. So yes, have a good rest of the day, guys, and I'll see you all hopefully soon. And yes, thank you all for tuning in and commenting and subscribing and already being subscribed. Thank you. Thank you for the OGs. Thank you for everyone. Honestly, appreciate you all. I hope you all become fantastic programmers if that's what you're after and everything else. So yes, I will see you all shortly. I'll end it all here on the Final Fantasy VII Prelude.